Hey guys, it's Pope and welcome back to my channel. The video this week is going to be all about explosiveness, which is a very important component to Olympic weightlifting. Every sport uses a different ratio of quick twitch muscle fibers versus your slow twitch muscle fibers. That's really hard to say, by the way. And in weightlifting, we rely more on the quick twitch side of things. So we want our muscles to be firing fast. And that doesn't mean the raw strength movements like squat and deadlift and your like pulling power and your just in general strength isn't important, but we rely on the explosiveness a bit more in weightlifting. So that's an important part of your strength training that can't be neglected. In this video today, we're going to work on a lot of those explosive movements, and I'm going to give you some ideas of exercises to add into your programming. And I'm going to break them down into a few different categories so you can decide which type of explosive movements you should be focused on. If you are a beginner or if you haven't even started training weightlifting yet, but you're wanting to get more into it, this is a really good starting point. I think if you can't master these plyometric exercises and do them like well and confidently, then you need to stick to this side of things first before you move on to snatch and clean and jerk, because they are such complicated movements, and working on your explosive power and your agility first, I think is the best step in the right direction to lead to success instead of kind of getting overwhelmed, not having those explosive movements down and trying to work on the complicated technique all at once. So if you're a beginner, start with these exercises, nail them, get confident with them, feel like your vertical jump has increased or feel like you can just move a bit better, and then start working on weightlifting technique. The first category of these plyometric exercises we're going to focus on are going to be working mainly on the concentric phase of the movement, which is, in this case with jumping and whatnot, is going to be the direction upwards. It is how we're going to work on our output of the muscles and getting them to work at their full capacity. Let's get started with the first exercise. The first one we're going to talk about today is probably the most known, which is the box jump. These can be done on varying heights, and I recommend if you're a beginner to start super low. You can even start with just some of your bumper plates stacked up. To perform a box jump, you want to start with your feet about hip width distance, but this is also going to be around the distance your feet will be apart on your stance for your first pull on snatch and clean and jerk. So you want to find that good sweet spot for how you're going to jump super high, and it's going to be the same for your starting position. I wouldn't stack them up too high. Once you get to the point where it would equal the box height, if you have a box, I would move on to that so it's more stable. That's something I really want to point out, is the safety of these. You don't want to stack too many things, and you don't want to do this too high. You want to focus on getting in at least like 5 reps at the height that you're working on. I personally don't think doing a max height box jump is super important. I think if you're doing like a few reps and challenging yourself, that's going to get the job done just as well as trying to do a max height, and you're not going to be in any danger. If you are going to do box jumps for height, at least don't stack a bunch of things on top of each other. Make sure you're safe. When you finish the box jump, you want to make sure that your quads are landing engaged and your abs are nice and tight and you're in like a quarter squat. If you're working super high, you might even land into a full squat. You want to make sure at the top of your jump, you're opening your hips all the way, getting that full extension, because that is going to transfer right into your snatch and clean and jerk full extension. So we want to be drilling that on these jumps as well, getting all the way open hips at the top of the jump. The next exercise are tuck jumps. And while these can be done leisurely, when you're doing tuck jumps, in this case, I want you to be focused on getting them as high as possible and getting your knees up as high as possible too. And a good way to incorporate these that I really liked doing, Amy had me do 3 tuck jumps and then my light snatch warm up. So when I was doing like 35 and 40 kilos working up to my heavier working sets, I was doing tuck jumps and then the snatch to get those muscles really ready to fire quickly. So you can incorporate these like in your warm up or like I did before one of your movements on your lighter lifts. The last exercise in this category is going to be a jump with a wall reach, and this is a really good thing to kind of test and retest how you're doing with your progression on your explosiveness. So what you want to do is stand really close to the wall and you're going to dip just like a normal jump and vertical jump as high as possible, but with a stretched body, and then reach up and try to tap the wall. The way you can do this as a test is to put some chalk on your middle finger, and when you touch the wall, try to reach that middle finger as high as possible. And you can do this like in your gym, and hopefully it will show up on the wall, and next time you do it, you can try to extend past that mark from the time you did it before. The next category of exercises we're going to work on now are going to cycle through both the concentric and eccentric phases of movement. In these exercises, they're going to focus on building that strength and stamina that's going to lead to better power output that you'll find in your weightlifting movements. The first exercise in gymnastics we called mountain climbers, but I think in the fitness, like strength industry, mountain climbers are done with your hands on the floor. So I guess you could call these like alternating split jumps. What they're going to do is start in a lunge position, and then you're going to jump, fully extend your knees, and switch to the other leg lunge position. And these you can do high rep ranges, at least like 15 or 20 reps at a time, and they're really going to gas out your legs quickly. Moving on, you also have your either squat or frog jumps, very similar to the mountain climbers, but these are going to go all the way down into a full squat. You can either do them with your knees turned out like you would a normal squat, or you can keep your knees together. There's very minimal difference in how they're going to work your legs. One might work your glutes a little bit more, and the close together version might focus a little bit more on your quads. Either way, you want to go all the way down to your full range of motion and then explode up as fast as possible. And just like on the box jump, you want to open your hips all the way to get that full extension, as well as straighten your legs all the way and flex those quads at the top. Same as the mountain climbers, you want high rep ranges on these. Now, to add in another challenge, you could also do these movements with a barbell on your back. I would recommend starting with like a demi or plie squat for these, and if you feel comfortable and strong enough, you can move on to a full squat. These are super tough, so make sure you've mastered a regular squat jump first before you go adding on weight. Next, we have jumping rope, which is pretty self-explanatory, but something that is often forgot about are our calf muscles, and those need big power output as well for weightlifting, because we do go up on our toes on the full extension. So we need those calves ready to fire, and we need them to stay healthy so you don't ever have any injuries on the back of the leg there. Last thing in this category is going to be single leg hops. This is one of those exercises that would be really great in your warm-up routine. You're going to just basically hop on one leg across your gym floor and then switch to the other leg to do another pass. Always good to keep up with your unilateral work so that one side isn't getting stronger than the other. That's why I really like these. The last category we're going to go over is focus on the eccentric side of the movement when it comes to plyo exercises. That means we're going to work on our stopping power. That is really important and I think often neglected in weightlifting, but everything is not just about the up part of the pull on weightlifting, even though that's where a lot of the focus goes. We also have to be ready to receive the weight. For example, receiving a clean, your quads have to be ready to be engaged and absorb all of that weight that you have on your chest. So you need to also work on your muscle stop power. The first exercise is going to be jumping off of a block, the opposite of what we did earlier in the video. What you're going to do is very simply just step off the block and then land and really engage every muscle in your body, your abs, your glutes, your quads. Everything is absorbing the shock, and you're training those muscles to get tight as fast as possible. Okay. These are deceivingly hard, so please start out super low when you're first learning how to do these. Once you master a low height, then you can move on to building it up to a bit higher. Last thing we're going to talk about today is re-racking the barbell. This is something that my coach Amy has us work on a lot, and the reason why a lot of coaches will program complexes and doing, for example, jerks out of the rack versus on blocks sometimes specifically, because we want to work on that eccentric strength, getting your body ready to absorb the weight. So make sure you're not always relying on those jerk blocks. It is important to work on that re-rack absorption of the weight, because it's going to really transfer over to when you are catching your snatch and clean jerks. Those are the plyometric exercises that I think have the most carryover into weightlifting. There are tons of different variations you can do of these. I was just scratching the surface basically, but that will give you a good starting point to work on. These movements can also show up in even up to elite weightlifters programming because they're things you need to constantly be working on, getting better at, and improving. So this is a really good video for all ranges of ability in the sport of weightlifting, from beginner all the way up to elite. So if you are more advanced in your weightlifting career, these are some ideas to throw into your programming at the end of your workouts as like an accessory exercise or as part of your warm-up too. Just do like pick one exercise and knock out like 10 reps and then move on to another as part of your warm-up to get those muscles firing quickly and correctly before you start actually moving on to your barbell warm-up. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate you supporting my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.